Hello, everybody, and welcome to Belly Up Sports TV in the ERSCA series, presented by 3Y TV. I'm Dante, alongside David Westergreen. David, how you doing tonight?
Good. Ready to watch some ERSCA racing. Good to have you guys back in the booth. Me and Robert Hill and Chris Wright covered for you last week. We got the old 3Y TV team back in the booth for Charlotte tonight. How are you doing tonight?
Good. Glad to be back in here. Missed last week, obviously, as you said, David. So excited to see what round two from my side of things. I get to see these guys for the second time this season, so excited to see what happens here in Charlotte.
Yeah, last week we were running Nashville Super Speedway. Had a pretty tame first 3 quarters of the race, and then had a late race caution. Kind of all hell broke loose the rest of the way. We had some intentional wrecking. We had some tempers flaring. We had a crash after the start-finish line that ignited a long argument. Ultimately, we saw awesome year, 2 out of victory lane. That's I knew I would get there eventually. And then the week before that, we saw Nick Massey go to victory lane. That was down right here. At Richmond, nobody was broadcasting that one, but we did have a review video for the broadcast last week. Watch and check out the interesting what happened 2 weeks ago. Now we're 3 weeks in, we've had 3 different winners. We've had pretty much chaos all 3 races. Do we think that that's going to continue here at Charlotte, Dom, or are we going to maybe see some green flag racing?
I would hope that it calms down a little bit, but when it gets down to the final few laps, anything can happen, and everybody's going to be going for the win here. You know, shorter season than normal, but these wins mean that much more.
Absolutely right. Quickly look up what there is. While I do that, we're on track with Joe Francis. Here we go, now I've got it. The points leader is Austin Beers after the first 3 races. Matthew Bayuk sitting second in points by 5. And then it's 20 points back to Joe Francis and Ryan Gavel and Gavin Hibbs, who are all tied 20 points off the lead. Also, the lowest incident counter among the full-time drivers will be in the playoffs. Currently, the leader in that is Aaron Smith with 9 incidents. Right behind him is Joe Francis with 11. So we'll keep an eye on those guys tonight. Also, the winner of this race will win $100 straight up. This is I think Dash for Cash race. I think that's what we're calling it. So $100 to win this one. So additional motivation on the line for these guys tonight. I think that may increase the likelihood of more chaos and less green flag racing down the stretch.
Correction, this is a triple crown. That's what it's called.
Gotcha. Johnny made sure to inform us it was $100 to win this race. Qualifying underway here.
Peter Higgins off the charts. Kim Rush right behind him.
Just thinking Delicado. Loving those dodges. They're going to ride on top of the car. Love the Gen 4 body. We should note it is the high horsepower Gen 4 car. It's not the ARC car. Similar body style currently still, but the IRS does eventually shift that over to those true Gen 4 style bodies. But now these things are going to have 800 horsepower or so. They're going to be very difficult to wheel around with stroke.
Looks like we've had about 9 drivers now take a lap. Cameron Rich sits atop the charts, followed by Joe Francis. Dylan Thomas, 1, 2, 3.
Cameron Rich, fastest in practice, was the fastest car last week. Again, he's the fastest car out here tonight. He is truly a master of the higher horsepower. He's real strong in the COT, real strong last generation car as well. Once again, very strong in this Gen 4 car, though he hasn't had any of the luck so far to back that up. He's kind of back in the
Just had the camera on your Daytona. Series president Johnny Thomas.
He's had a good start to the season so far. He is actually second in that incident counter. And again, the lowest incident counter in the season will race for the championship playoff. So that might be a good ticket to get in if you're a guy like John Thomas, clean all year. Maybe you can get your way in. Here's a guy who has had no luck all season. He's not going to be, I think, making it into the incident counter. Certainly not all of these incidents up on that 12 car. He's fast in practice. This might be a good lap. It is 10 points from 10 to 16 right now. Damian Leininger isn't on that group, so very tight on that chase. Leininger times in 10th quick. From trying to take advantage. Looks like the shade may have hit the speeding of the track a little bit, but no one has had anything for that lap Cameron Rich put down. Bach. There's something's going to be pretty fast though, it looks like. 6. Number 8. 7. Hamilton out 12. There goes Dewar. Another incident for the Volkswagens. I guess you guys didn't see it last week. We had all the Volkswagens caught up in a single wreck. The week before that at Richmond, all the Volkswagens were caught up in a single wreck. That's Campbell, Goodman, Dewar, and Dave Carpenter. Looks like we're done qualifying. And that'll mean Cameron Rich is on the pole. Harpoon Designs 300. Matty Bayuk will start in 2nd. Joe Francis starts 3rd. Dylan Thomas starts in 4th. Andy Trupiano will be 5th. Scott Crumpel starts 6th. Austin Beers starts 7th. James Heater starts 8th. Ryan Gavel 9th, and Ryan Barbieri rounds out the top 10. Drew Eisenman and Nick Massey round out that 6th row in top 12.
Looking back here, in the second grouping, starting in row number 7, Jared Campbell and Damian Leininger, Aaron Smith, and Christopher there in row number 8, Dustin Dewar, and Narducci. Looking through the rest of the field here, just going to call out a few of the regulars. Seth Rawls starting in 20th, Nick Delicato 21st, Goodman 22nd, Jonah Thomas starting 23rd, and Kyle Hantron 24th.
Gavin Hibbs running a Quaker State Casey Kane throwback today. That one's pretty good. We're going to have to get that one on TV a few times here tonight. But with all that, I think we can go for picks now. So I have a required pick. We can start with me, or should Carlos?
No, you go for it.
Yeah, I gotta honor a prediction I made back on Thursday in an interview. So that I told Matty Bayuk I would pick him for this race no matter what. Luckily, he starts 2nd, to make me look smart, but I'm picking Matthew Bayuk tonight.
Alright, well, luckily for me, my race pick is actually not too far away. I'm going to pick our pole sitter, Kevin Rich.
Alright, let's just make it quite the deal. I'll go right behind you guys with Joe Francis, starting 3rd.
Joe's been strong too. He was in the top 10, I think, all race last week and ended up, I think, finishing in the top 5. He's up there in points as well, so very strong pick thus far. Yeah, Dylan Thomas right there in 4th. This should be a really competitive race. I think Cameron Rich might control it early, but we saw last week Matthew Bayuk's really, really strong on the short runs in this car. He's just got a little something extra when it comes to those quick runs where he can get out in clean air and get going. So we'll see if he or Rich are able to control the race from the get-go.
I do want to say,
long term, go ahead.
I do want to say, speaking of Joe, I want to wish a happy belated to all of the mothers out here for Mother's Day.
It's nearly Mother's Day, day after Mother's Day.
Joe Mama.
All right. We go green with that? Joe Mama?
Sure are.
We sure are. Alright, Cameron Rich leads him down. Matty Bayuk alongside. Green flag in the air. We are underway in the Harpoon Designs 300.
Rich gets a good jump here off the start. He'll be able to clear everybody by 3, maybe 4 car lengths heading off into turn 1. Bayuk able to slide down to that second position. Right ahead of Joe Francis.
Outside line, not the preferred line here on the start. Trupiano gets around Dylan Thomas. Beers underneath Thomas as well. Everybody trying to file for that blue line on the bottom. Early on in this race, think that outside line might be useful later on. But right now, it's just going to burn tires. So Green's in danger. I think he's got some laps in for last week.
Side trying to find a place to come down. Austin Beers has got by, and Trupiano not quite able to slot in the line as Beers grabbed the gavel on the team, and then he'll fall back about 7th, 8th position spot in line.
Now they single file out, and everybody all the way back to Aaron Smith and Gavin Hibbs are single file. Smith, the first one trapped up on the top lane. Everybody else is singled out straight to the bottom of the racetrack. See if we can click some laps off here. Austin Beers, the first early mover. He's up 3 spots from 4th and 7th, and he's going for another one as Francis jumps to the top side. He's kind of looking after Bayou there, but I think that's not going to work out. The outside line just tight there from up turn 4. Francis that spot, maybe another one. Thomas.
Beers almost able to clear him down well. Luckily for Francis, he's able to sneak down there ahead of Thomas in 4th and line, and they're also still chasing after Cameron Rett with Matthew Bayou starting to take his run critically.
Bayou's trimmed that lead down. Oh man, someone sideways on the apron behind, and they're still spinning out. Nice spinning. Sound issues. I'll get this fixed.
Rich still getting a race leader. That's really not bring up the song. Rich still working on number 7.
Like here, let's get around Bayou for 2nd, and Francis now under fire from Dylan Thomas for 4th. Massey almost got up in the wall right there. That was awfully high for the 48 car. That one did turn off to 11. Before the race, he started way back on first.
Right now, already moved up 3 first starting spot in the sub-5, so making some pretty good progress here early on.
Yeah, I envision he'll be really good at this race around screening for him all the time because he don't have our car control the field. But one thing I am surprised about Nick Massey back in 20th, man, he started off all the races we've seen. Massey's either had terrible luck or he simply is run into some trouble. Today, just way back in 20th, gonna have to bide his time. Gonna have to really take it easy here early on. I think if he wants to get back up front in this thing, he's gonna He's going to have to come from the back.
We could let Delicado pick his way through and just kind of follow the field and see when they get two spots and then Thomas separates the two. Jump back up to our race leader. Austin Beers trying to close in. Been able to make some progress over the last couple of laps.
Yeah, he's been good. Dylan Thomas has picked off Joe Francis for the 4th spot. Behind there, Brian Gavin is driven by Andy Trupiano to pick up the 6th position. That 0-1 is flying a little bit. Trupiano's having some trouble. He's caught on the high side. He just lost his spot to Crump. He's going to lose to Leininger. Not a good start for Andy Trupiano with that 7 car as he continues to fall back. Kind of lost momentum, I think, off the race. He's got one tight and step out of the throttle. When you do that, you fall back pretty quickly, I think, here with all these guys kind of running single file on the bottom.
Yeah, he's going to be on an attack here for that final spot in the top 10. Joe Campbell is there now. He's after two people for the 9th position.
Right behind Ryan Barbieri. He's top 5 finisher last week, had a really good run, but kind of the bit of a stir there. He and Nicky Delicado made some contact in the final lap. Ignited he kind of come into the line actually. So they were fine until they crossed the line. Wrecked big coming after him. When it comes to those incident points, it's pretty serious. Fingers straight to decide who was at fault with that bit. As of now, Ryan Barbieri is the one going for it.
Glenn Thomas now coming after Matthew Bayou for the 3rd position, while Austin Beers is all over the back of Cameron Rich up front.
Huge gains for Damian Leininger, but also huge gains for Austin Beers, who's come up from 7th to go for the lead. Last week's winner at Nashville, going after the race lead. He's going to get it from Cameron Rich. Rich has to yield. Strong early run from Austin Beers.
Beers is already put quite the gap on Rich there, just making fast. 3 car lengths and 4 at the line. Rich is able to push it slightly, but not too much. 15 laps down, making their way around.
We're also seeing who maybe abused their tires real early in the run and whose car, is starting to come to them. As Damian Leininger just about lost it off the turn 2. I was going to mention him and Gerald Campbell as well. Those are the 2 guys that are kind of forward right now, up to 7th and 8th position, 14th and 13th starting spot. Leininger just got real loose off the corner, which just tells me that 12 is driving hard right now. They're going for it. Maybe some of the other guys are saving their stuff for later in the run. Man!
Trupiano fell out of the top 10. Barbieri has now made his way in as well, just behind that group, looking to see if he can make it with that. Campbell and Leininger as well.
So I thought Scott Crump was going to get back from Gerald Campbell. He drove in very deep. But Gerald has claimed that 8th position and falls into 9th. Scott Crump saving his tires. That's kind of a Scott Crump move. Just kind of run strong, good part of this run, back into the top 10. And before we know it, he'll be in the top 5 when these guys start to fall off. Now, guys, Cameron Rich is going Austin Beers back down.
Inside a couple of second now.
Rich looking for a way around now, peeking to the top side of the field. So Cameron Rich can't get that race lead back from Austin Beers. They have cleared out 2nd on Matthew Bayuk. So I think that gap is actually coming down as well.
Watching a couple of battles on the track here.
All the way up top. That's going to work at all.
Top cameras battle farther back to back. And get your battle lead there on this Rewind TV multi-cam shot.
Cameron Rich maybe was taking it easy there, trying to save these tires a little bit, lead and maybe underperform what that car can do. Just got something cooking here. He's closing in on the back of the Beers once again. Up top again by Cameron Rich. This time he's going to have it alongside Austin Beers. A power move to the outside lane. Beers drove up and took it from Rich. Rich drives to the top side and takes it back from Austin Beers. Now Beers got
Beers can pick up a little bit of what Rich learned and try to use against him. This could be a good battle back and forth on the next few laps. But swap the lead on and off here for a little bit. Beers going to go off one lane higher than Rich. And Rich able to reclaim the race lead and pull it off here for the time being. Got a battle for third and fourth as well. Dylan Thomas and Matthew Bayou. Looking to make a move.
back there, he held up Gerald Campbell quite a bit. Now there's about 2 second gap, and Leininger, this foursome behind the two race leaders, they're way in front of Campbell, Leininger front battle. Narducci just jumped into the top 10 driving around Barbieri. So battles all throughout the field. These guys, some of them have really driven hard, some of them have saved their tires. Back after that back pack, Delicado up to 15th. The better tire savers in the field. Starting to move their way forward. And it's a big side-by-side battle between Christopher and Trujillo. Has been kind of falling back since the race started. I don't think he likes running long. And then you've got Delicado and Seth Rawls, couple of teammates right there battling as well. Aaron Smith and Gavin Hibbs are in this group.
They didn't even know the front. Split up the race track. Gamble dive underneath, not spin, crashes out, and uses his move advantage to make the move and jump up into the top five. So now let's go after Dylan Thomas and Matthew Bayou.
Kind of back over a bit. Just kind of followed in his tire tracks a little bit. Maybe uncomfortably close, as it were, but Bayou's been able to hold off that 03, but not for long. And now they're 3 wide in the back straightaway. Bayou just backs out of it. He does not want to be part of that. Thomas and Gavin both running hyper-aggressive down the back. Now Gavin takes over the third spot for Thomas and gets to from the back straightaway.
And while we've been focusing on that, Austin Beers is sinking through the field. He's 1.5 seconds off of Cameron Rich now and not too far out of reach. In this group of 4 cars, every once in a while in the shot, you can see him within striking distance here momentarily.
Yeah, Austin Beers drove it real hard on this first run, I think. He wanted that track position. He wanted to clear through the field. He has done that, I think, at the expense of that right front tire. And now he's going to have, and maybe even the right rear tire, and he's going to have to find a way to maintain this track position as these guys hunt him down. Ryan Gavel has rocketed through the field 2/3 from 9th. So that 0-1, very strong. Dylan Thomas has been up front all day. Francis and Bayuk also. You know, I think these guys have been biding their time, and now they're going to be able to make their way up there and challenge this 19 car for second. All that to say, Cameron Rich has been able to pull away from Austin Beers, so I can't help but wonder if that 17 is maybe in another league right now. That thing is bad fast, as he's put 2 whole seconds on Beers here in the last 2 or 3 laps.
Well, here comes Dylan Thomas underneath Gavel once again, trying to get that 3rd spot back away from him. They closed in on Beers to about half a second. Now, Beers might be able to shave some time off here as they get side by side, but now they'll single file it back out and close within 0.4 of a second now on Beers in 2nd place.
Every now and again you see it behind. There is a massive pack of cars that Nick and Delicado is trying to work his way through right now. He's up to 11th from 21st. Easily the biggest mover of the race so far, and charging through the field also Brian Narducci just in front of that. So we've got a battle brewing for second as Gavel has started to run almost exclusively the top. Got a massive battle going on for about 8th on back.
Austin Beers is about to get blown by right here. Gavel is by. Dylan Thomas looking to make the move. And soon after it'll be Joe Francis and Matthew Bayou. So Beers is about to go from 2nd to 6th position here. Once they get by Beers, it'll be interesting to see if they can make any difference up on Cameron Rich, who's now close to 3 seconds ahead of this.
Beers in the wall.
2.76. Yes, Austin Beers in the wall. Hard. Don't know how much damage that did his car, but we'll keep an eye on it. And he falls back. The last one to go around him now will be Bayou.
Now Nick and Delicato's into 10th. Aaron Smith is up now to, this looks like 12th. And some of these guys who started in the back have been working their way forward. Those guys are all quickly entering into the contention window, but all of it about 3 seconds at minimum behind Cameron Rich, who continues to dominate this race early on. Bayuk has not been able to get around Beers, even though Beers hit the wall. So I wonder if that 19 car might just be okay, but he's probably going to end up giving up that spot at some point. It just seems like Bayuk's not willing to throw that car side by side at this time.
David, I think your comment was pretty well accurate. Gavel is in clean air right now, all by himself. And Cameron Rich is continuing to expand that gap from first to second. So I would say that 17 car is on its own planet right now.
Right, and we'll have to see whether some of these guys that are started in the back can maybe contend with him as Nick and Delicato moves to 9th. He might be the guy I have my eye on that can run in this same stratosphere with that 17. Dylan Thomas finally trying to get second. He's been pressuring Gavel and Bayuk for the top spot in this little second group for the past 20 laps. Hasn't been able to make it work. Now Gavel sideways off the corner. Big save from the 0-1. But that will give that kind of preferred groove to Dylan Thomas. We'll see if he can finally clear to second and get some clean air. He does. Gavel loose again. Man, that 0-1 is really squirrely. If you heat up the tires at all, it just really burns them out, and you're just hurting for the next several laps. So Gavel may not be done sliding as here comes Francis down to the bottom. One of the things I'm noticing, though, is that a very good usage of different lanes for these guys. They have multiple options, multiple grooves. I think that's the horsepower in this car, combined with kind of a more limited approach to drafting, where you can find the clean air and you can go to a different groove, and that's how this car raced in real life. And it's really refreshing to see that actually come to iRacing. Oftentimes, these races will be single lane, bottom feeder. Here we're seeing guys run the top, run the bottom, able to defend up top, able to make passes on the bottom like Dylan Thomas just did. Very good. Francis and Gavel continue to battle.
So David, 35 laps will be on the board here in a moment. Where do you expect, how far can they go on this green flag run?
We got 200 laps in this thing. I think they're probably going to try to divide it into 4. You might be able to go 60. But, so 4 segments, 3 pit stops, I'm guessing. But you probably want to go past 50. It just depends on how far they can go on that fuel tank, and if they can get to 75, 80, maybe they can make it a 2-stop race. But I think with the tire fall off, we're seeing over a second now of fall off for a lot of these guys. I think you're going to want to pit a few more times, or that additional time, especially if this thing happens to have a green flag feel to it like it does right now. You can really make up some time by short pitting in the near term. And maybe you will sacrifice that long-term speed, but by the time you start feeling the effects of that, you will be pitting again. So I think pitting at the nearest possible window to the minimum number of stops you can make it in, which feels like 3 stop post lap 50, but I didn't check my numbers, so I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly.
All right. Well, while we were going over that, Joe Francis was able to make the move back to his original starting position in 3rd.
Scott Frump just about lost it coming off of turn 2 right in front of Aaron Smith and Gavin Hibbs. Both of them had to check up to avoid him. Both of those guys are kind of, I think they're moving forward right now. So is Nick Massey in that 48. Crump is moving backwards. That 8 car not happy right now underneath him. He's fallen to 10th. Delicato's by. Mike Christopher's by. Brian Narducci's by. Rawls is about to go by, is by as well. Crump's all the way back in 11th now, and under fire from Aaron Smith. That 8 car going the wrong direction. Nick Massey's car looks really, really nice too right now, running in the 14th position. He's flown by Barbieri, Trupiano, Leininger, Campbell, a bunch of those guys that were running up towards the front at the beginning of this race. Now that 48 car's kind of just really smooth and steady, starting to move its way forward. And I would not be surprised to see it in the top 5 by the end of this thing. Dylan Thomas has opened up about a second gap right now on Joe Francis for 3rd, so that 0-3 looking really strong right now as well. Definitely, I've talked about it a little bit, but it's a good run.
I was looking through the top 10, other than Francis and Gavel, which I believe Francis should be pulling away from Gavel here. The only other closest one is Bayuk and Delicato are within a 10th or 2 of each other, and there goes Delicato for the pass, and he'll move up to the 7th position. Matthew Bayuk go back. Looks like Christopher just got by Beers, or did Beers come down pit road?
Beers is on pit road, so he opens up the pitting here on lap 40. I feel like that might be a little bit early, but he has also burned the tires off of that 19 car, so this might be a good move. Try the short pit, see if you can't make it work. Maybe you catch the caution in the right place. But I was just looking through the top 10, looking for someone else in the 31-second bracket along with Cameron Rich. Mike Christopher was in the 31-second bracket, so was Nick and Delicato. Both of those guys have been able to put together lap times in the similar stratosphere as Cameron Rich, and then also Nick Massey in the 48 car. So those are your guys right now in the long run that have that long run speed, are Rich, Massey, Christopher, and Delicato.
I did pull a couple of drivers down. Looks like Gavin Hibbs, Michael Goodman, both coming down pit road as well here early.
Gerald Campbell as well. Pit stops have started lap 40. I feel like this is the shorter version of this, and you can go a little bit longer, but we will have to see how much longer these guys want to stay out with. There's going to be some guys with 2 and 2.5 second faster lap times right now. Fresh tires breathing down their neck.
Goodman has not gone down the road.
Yeah, Goodman has. Brendan Baku has? I think it is. Well, no, maybe not.
That was Zishan Dura also coming down pit road.
Oh, Eisen went down pit road, but he had damage from that earlier incident. Rich still able to pull out on Dylan Thomas. He's gradually stretched that lead to 4.6 seconds. So Rich doing a really good job here on those older tires.
Or Narducci.
Yeah, Narducci down pit road. Oh, Dura might be coming back down pit road.
Narducci went through the box a little bit, had to back it up.
Yeah, that'll kill you on these green flag pit stops. But with those hot tires, it is real easy to make that mistake. Here comes Christopher. Here comes Delicato, looks like. Yep, Delicato, Rawls, and Ryan Barbieri all coming down pit road this time. So lap 44, kind of a bigger group hitting pit road.
That carpal tunnel.
And a Delicato guy, pretty good at stopping in the box right there, right on cue. Pulls it out. It's looking good. Bayuk's still on the track. Massey's still on the track. Gavel down pit road.
Got top 3 are staying the same, even 4 of the top 5 still out there. They're your leaders. Aaron Smith now up to 4th with all of them coming down pit road. Massey to 6th.
3 wide right there. And here comes Cameron Rich down pit road. Beers went flying by a couple of people on the top, 3 wide. That 19 car is falling right now on those fresh tires. Got to be careful that you don't get trapped a lap down here, but I don't think Cameron Rich is in danger of that as he's so far out in front. Ooh, Leininger
down pit road.
Johnny Thomas, Damian Leininger. Leininger was falling back fast. That 12 car had overcooked the tires for sure. The lead is turned over to Dylan Thomas and Joe Francis. See Dylan Thomas coming this time, Francis coming this time. Aaron Smith is staying out, so the 70's going to go out and get a lap lead here.
Massey now into 2nd with these Pit stops coming.
I just clicked it. Yeah, Massey's staying out there. So is Scott Crump. So is Bayuk. These guys for sure, you know, trying to take it as far as they can. Maybe trying to catch the caution with the fast cars being the ones on the attack. But I think you will see that the better move is going to be the shorter pit. I just, at least in the near term, right? The question will be is if this thing goes green for 100 or more laps, as Nick Massey finally does come to pit road, if this thing does go green for 100 or more laps, the long run is the way to go. But you won't have the track position if that caution comes out at all, right? You'll be much further back. It needs to go green for a couple of cycles in order for you to actually see those gains on the racetrack.
Well, we're about 6 drivers away, maybe 5 drivers now, that have not came down pit road. So that means we've almost made it, knock on wood, through the cycle without any issues.
Yep, looking good there. Beers is in front of Rich by about 5 car lengths right now. So Beers got what would be the de facto lead, but he's got it on several lap older tires than Cameron Rich, and he'll be hunted down and disposed of momentarily, I would think. Aaron Smith still the race leader. Scott Crump still running second. Bayuk still out on track third. Trupiano actually just took third from Bayuk, who is, I believe, pitting. Trupiano's definitely pitting. No, yeah, it's just Trupiano that pits. James Heater is also on pit road, so Beers still holding that first spot over Rich, but it's not going to be long. In fact, here comes Cameron Rich to the inside of Beers for that de facto lead. Aaron Smith coming down pit road this time. Yep, and there goes Rich.
At the quarter of the race mark. Trying to make it on 3 stops.
Yep. I would think Beers can just run one of these runs longer, but we'll see. We'll see what his actual plan is. Scott Crump's going to hold the lead still, but going to have to pit real soon, and that's going to give a lot of track position to that 17 car right now. He's only half a lap back of Crump at this point.
I believe he's the only one that has not pitted, as Smith and Bayuk both come down pit road. And here he comes.
There goes Scott Crump. And we'll turn the lead back over to Cameron Rich. Beers will be second, and Delicato is going to pick up third out of all that, man. Just had a stellar pit stop, stellar pit road entry, and it's just gonna be that kind of night where these guys who save tires so well are gonna have such dominant cars right now, and this race does have some green flag feel to it, so potentially we could get in another green flag stop if these guys are in a rhythm and are able to go the next 50 laps.
It's a pretty decent gap, too, between Rich and Beers, backed in Delicato, who comes out in third after those pit stops. So he's made his way up and then timed that pit stop just right to really improve his track position. It's about 6 seconds from Rich back to Delicato.
Yeah, and then it's a little more tight-knit between Gavel, Thomas, Narducci, Hibbs, Bach, Francis, all those guys within just a couple of seconds of each other. And as the timing and scoring rolls out on iRacing's side, Rich the leader, Beers second, and Delicato third after pit stops. Then Gavel, Thomas, Narducci, Hibbs, Francis, Rawls, and Bach. Campbell 11th, Barbieri 12th, just outside the top 10. Nick Massey 13th. That's kind of, then there's a pretty big gap back to Aaron Smith and Johnny Thompson. So first cycle down. And the guys who stayed out late are feeling the effects. Matthew Bayuk's back in 29th. Scott Crump is back in 19th. Or 20th, rather. 19th. Mike Christopher is now a lap down. I think he might have even... Yeah, he might have sped on pit road. That 82 car is way back there. But a long way to go. You can get it back. Battle coming up here for the 4th position. Dylan Thomas all over the back of Ryan Gavel. 0103. Nose to tail, but for now it's going to be Dylan Thomas. He jumps to the inside. and get him off the corner here. He cannot just yet. Gavel retains third, or fourth rather. I think we will see Beers fall into the clutches of Indelicato and then Gavel and Thomas pretty shortly here in that 19 car. I think he's out there on some much older rubber, and even no matter how much you save, that's not going to change 4 or 5 laps of wear here.
How about we go through the field, guys?
Yeah, let's do it. Starting up front, Cameron Rich. He has led most of the race. Just a few bits there in green flag pit stops, and where Austin Beers came up and took the lead from him. That car has looked perfect all day long. No problems whatsoever. Maybe except for scraping the wall entering turn 1.
Austin Beer is currently running in second. First one to come down pit road in the green flag pit stops. Worked out, well, pretty decent for him, sitting currently in second. Battled early on with Cameron Rich for the race lead, used up his stuff, but still finds himself in second, trying to hang on to that position as we work our way through this second green flag run here.
Nick Indelicato started 21st. He's up to third, and with Austin Beers on much older tires, he'll likely be up to second in no time. Probably hoping for a caution to be able to keep up with Cameron Rich, as a 7-second gap is going to be pretty insurmountable, but this guy's pretty good on pit road, so yeah, I guess anything can happen.
Dylan Thomas started in the top 10, challenged in that top 3 for most of the first segment here, first 50 laps. He's kind of just stuck around that 3rd to 5th position, hasn't been able to really make himself up too much farther as he tries to make a position for 4th right now on Gavel.
That was a tight race. There's Ryan Gavel, who's also climbed up into the top 5 pretty quickly in this one, has managed to stay there, battling with Dylan Thomas. 0-1 car, in all likelihood, is going to need, a caution and some work, but he does have pretty clearly strong long-run speed, and I think that's going to be crucial going forward, as this race does feel like a long green flag run type of race.
Joe Francis started in the top 3, fell back to the 5th, 6th position where he finds himself now in that first run, and then made his way back up to the top 3. Has not been able to get up there and challenge the top 2 quite yet, but he sits here kind of clicking off more laps, trying to save more tires here for a longer run once again.
Ryan Narducci might be the most impressive driver of the race so far. We saw him making a bunch of crazy saves last week, maybe overdriving his stuff. This week he's been very under control, up to 7th from 18th starting position after the first set of pit stops. Very much looks like a top 10 level car right now. Just needs to make sure he finds that consistency all the way through the race and hits those next couple of pit stops.
Narducci led this quad of cars that have made their way up. Seth Rawls up 12 positions from the 20th starting spot up to 8th, now in the top 10 solidly here after pit stops, looking to continue to use his stuff and march his way up towards the front and put himself in contention here late in the race.
I get to mention this scheme I shouted out earlier, the Quaker State number 9 of Gavin Hibbs. This thing is looking very pretty. Hibbs is driven from 19th to 9th, looks very good and very solid on the long runs, much like he has been for most of the season anyway. We'll see if that 9 car can maybe get something for him here if a caution does happen to come out at some point. For what it's worth, Indelicato just took 2nd from Beers as well.
Rounding out our top 10 here, a guy that started outside or deep in the second half here, about 17th position. Heard about him early, but here he comes as we approach somewhat halfway. The 48 of Nick Massey, already a race winner this season, looking to make his way in Kevin Harvick style and close this thing out in the second half of the race and put him in contention to win it.
Aaron Smith's Daytona pole sitter, I think he was also last week's pole sitter, has had a good strong start to the season, but and with no incidents, but thus far has not had the speed in this one. He's up to 11th from 15th, but is going to need some track position to be able to make anything happen. He's been a really rock-solid top 10 driver all season long, and he's looking to get back in there with Narducci, looks like right now falling back through the clutches of the guys we just talked about. I think he'll have a chance to jump into the top 10 pretty soon.
Ryan Barbieri started inside the top 10, now has fallen back to the 12th position after pit stops. mentioned his name a few times today, but not quite the speed to hold with those guys up front. We'll see if he can play the track position game or a long run stretch here to get himself in contention later on.
I get to mention Daytona winner Johnny Thomas, who has had a very clean, very quiet run early from 23rd up to 14th. Is this 83 Belly Up Sports Chevy? Johnny's absolutely just looking to finish strong, finish with a low incident count, and I think every inch he gets closer to the top 10 is a win in his book. That's definitely one of the goals for this 83 car.
Jared Campbell's in 14th. He made a run midway through that first
Caution.
Out.
run, and we're
Aaron
going to caution
Smith and
on the
Narducci.
speedway.
That was a battle we were just looking at while we were kind of going through the field there, and oh, it looks like Narducci came up into Gavin Hibbs, and it's going to turn Aaron Smith into the inside wall. Nowhere to go. Innocent bystander was Aaron Smith. I think he was also the incidents leader before this incident, so yeah, I guess hand that to Johnny Thomas for now, but we'll have to see whether Narducci came up or if Hibbs got into him there, but it looks like that yeah. I think the 98 just drifted it up the track. Yeah, I talked about how he was it looked like he was a lot more under control, a lot more smooth, and maybe this run he had been a little less of that, because that car came way off the bottom with the car to the outside. Creates our first incident of the day. We went on board from Gavin Hibbs or something here to see if we can follow along
Yeah,
with what
I'll
he's
try to follow
on.
that up.
Hibbs just running the top lane there. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything he could have done. He was definitely checking up at that point.
Everyone pit road.
As expected. Let me check how many tire sets these guys have while we watch them go down pit road. 7 tire sets in this race, and if you were expecting them to go for 3 pit stops if this thing went green, they have more than enough sets to spare. Everyone's taking 4 tires right here. We hadn't even gotten to Bayuk or Crump or those guys who stayed out late. This is not what they wanted to see. It was a quick caution in the middle of this second run. Cameron Rich first off pit road once again.
Caution roughly came about 30-ish laps from when we saw the first few cars come down pit road in that green flag run. About 20 laps since Crump and them came down pit road. So
Let's see if we can
kind
speak
of in the middle of the run.
Let's see if we can speak to Gavin Hibbs and get his take on what happened.
Yeah, bring him up. Let's
Sure
see
will.
if we... Gavin, it's David in the 3-wide TV booth. You got me, buddy?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, man, take us through that wreck there. It looked like you didn't have anywhere to go from our end, but what'd you see out there?
You pretty much hit the nail in the coffin. Just trying to go to the outside of Narducci. He just kept coming up. His car was all over the place, and I just had nowhere to go whatsoever. I feel bad for Aaron because he was just an innocent bystander to all that.
You got any damage there? Did you take time to fix it, or are you just good right now?
Car still feels pretty good. It's only like 20 seconds of optional, so I'm gonna leave it right now and continue on.
Gotcha. And how's it feeling out there? Looks like everybody was able to kind of run it green for a few laps. It seemed like that's gonna continue.
I'm hoping so. The car feels pretty good. It's a little loose here in the opening runs with cold tires, but after a while, the rears in my end, they feel pretty good. Just gotta conserve the front tires at this point.
Gotcha. Well, good luck the rest of the way, Gavin. Dom, you got anything for him?
Thank you.
Nope. All right.
We send him back. But yeah, definitely nowhere to go for him. I think. Yeah, guy just washed up in front of him. What are you gonna do? He does make an interesting point there with the front tires because I initially kind of always expect that. Right, I always expect the right front tire to be the one that wears the most. Aaron Smith's in the care center, by the way.
What?
Let's bring him up.
Nothing. All right, here we go. Getting ready to put them in order.
Aaron Smith's David in the booth. You got me?
Yeah, I've got you.
Yeah, it looked like you had nowhere to go, man. Tough luck. Were you having fun out there at least?
Yeah, I wasn't sure what place I'd be in toward the final run there, but I had the strategy in line to go out and win the race. But I'm not too sure what kind of speed I would have had there if the race had gone green. But it's a shame it ended that way.
Yeah, man. I guess anything you could have done different. It seemed like you were kind of in a box from where we stood.
Yeah, I just pushed it a little too hard there. Tried to sweep under them on exit. Just I guess they came together above me.
Gotcha. Well, any shout-outs here before we send you off tonight?
Yeah, I'd like to thank everyone here at the Racing Stock Car Association for having me tonight, and the broadcast, and all the folks watching. Looking forward to getting back at it next week, and hopefully finishing the race.
Sounds good, man. Well, hopefully we see you back next week, and then maybe not wrecked.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, that's Aaron Smith. Unfortunate end to his race, but we still got 139 laps to go in this one.
Yeah, we're getting ready to go green here. Cameron Rich, Nick and Delicano on the front row. Dylan Thomas, Austin Beers in row 2. Joe Francis and Gavel in row 3. And we're getting ready to go green. First restart.
There goes Cameron Rich. Early, before the restart line even. And Nick and Delicato's going to have to fall into second. And we know how hard Austin Beers pushed those tires early in that first run. Was able to drive up there and pass Cameron Rich. Now he's a little bit closer than he was at the start of the race. Wonder if he will execute that strategy once again now that he's got that track position.
The time will tell on that one. Everyone's single file through about 6th, 7th position.
Rawls and Barbieri, the first side-by-side battle. Back there around 9th. And Rawls is going to get that one. Move Barbieri back to 10th. Or rather move Barbieri to 9th. Johnny Thomas sits 10th. Everybody else single file, not side by side at all. Trying to save tires, kind of follow in what Gavin Hibbs mentioned, that right front tire is one you have to conserve late in the run. The rear tire is the ones you have to conserve early in the run. All a big game of balance. I do think the damage is hindering Gavin Hibbs too. He's already fallen a spot on this restart, and Gerald Campbell's all over him. So keeping my eye on that 9 car with that left front damage from the incident. Scott Crump goes around Johnny Thomas. He'll also get Ryan Barbieri right here. That 8 car on the prowl, not saving those tires right now. He's going for it early in the run, and Barbieri smacks the fence. Guessing the old driver of the 15 is not too happy about that.
Able to straighten it out.
Keep it going.
Going, yeah.
Seth Rawls there, side by side with what looks like Massey and Crump. Massey's up into the top 10 and 7th. That 48 car started off this race slow, but he has found his way to the top 10, and he'll keep on climbing. I think Barbieri got the fence again.
Massey gonna dive underneath Joe Francis here. He takes the run into the corner.
Oh, Massey sideways on the apron. He saved it, but he's going to lose a bunch of track position.
Joe Francis is going to take advantage of that, and he's going to jump up there too and try to take the position away from Gavel.
If we had an Allstate Good Hands move the race to hand out, we're not sponsored by Allstate, but if we did, that would have been it right there. Nick Massey just saved that 48 car, maybe a couple of those guys behind him, by not spinning that thing around. He was dead sideways coming off of turn 2 last time and managed to keep her straight.
Things are starting to heat up here just outside the top 5.
Dylan Thomas actually bypassed Delicato and has driven up to second. Tells me Dylan's using those tires a little bit more than that one car is right now. Also, Gavel's hunting after Francis on the bottom of the racetrack, and Seth Rawls is running the top against Scott Crump, who's been pushing really hard to try to get that track position back.
Francis Beers battling for 4th and 5th.
Joe Francis being aggressive and on the top of the racetrack. That is not something I typically see on this thing. Joe's been pretty strong on the bottom, just kind of minding his P's and Q's, but he's getting racy tonight. I like it.
We're stacking them up here, nose to tail behind Indelicato.
Gavel kicks out. Crump kicks underneath Gavel. They're going to go 3 wide into 3. Rawls backed out of it. Gavel's going to have to back out of it here coming off of 4. That car got loose. Almost smacked the fence. Scott Crump's got the edge at the start-finish line.
Yeah, I didn't get much more though, okay? I did get some meat if you wanted to do.
Johnny Thomas up here into the top 10 as well, just behind Andy Trupiano, who's joined this battle. And Crump going after Joe Francis for that 5th position. Beers going after Delicato for 3rd, and Thomas for the lead.
Thomas underneath Rich, couldn't quite make it work that time. Rich will probably be able to hold the position down the backstretch. Thomas dives it off into turn 3.
And Dylan Thomas is going to take the lead of this race under green. So Cameron Rich has seen his car get passed up a couple of times there. Now Cameron Rich's lead is kind of gone, right? Nick and Delicato's right there within a couple of car lengths to that 17 car. We know he's able to keep that speed up throughout the run, is Cameron Rich. So he won't fall off nearly as much as some of these other guys, but without that big clean air track position in front of him, will these guys be able to keep up with that 17 car while that, before that speed kind of fall off kind of kicks in?
Oh, he's correcting it. Oh, he's loose.
But he's on the bottom trying to hold it down. Austin Beers is to his right here. And Scott Crump's also pressuring. Delicato right here making some... Definitely using those tires. He's not saving them on the bottom of this racetrack. When you can't wash up to the wall, you have to hold it down. You have to really get into that right rear tire to keep that thing hauling down the straightaway. You can't let that thing drift out to the wall. And that's just pressure from Austin Beers, knowing he's got to get around this one car if he wants to get up here and win this thing. And Crump's going after him as well.
Yeah, and
got him
under big attack, and he'll lose 2 positions, fall back to 5th spot. See what we'll see what Crump and Beers can do now.
Cameron Rich has not let that 0-3 car get away, and I don't expect that he will at all.
Almost exactly what we saw when Beers took the lead from him in that first green flag run. He let him get by, and then a couple laps later made the pass and then just checked out.
Well, we know what level of run Cameron Rich doesn't want to see at the end of this race, right? I think he's fine with a very short run. He's fine with a very long run, but Cameron Rich's worst enemy would be like a 10-lap run, right? Like, that's the perfect time for one of these guys who is really aggressive, who can get more out of their tires early in the run to go after Cameron Rich and get him, in a bad spot. Beer's really loose right in front of Crump, and Cameron Rich is going to take the lead back from Dylan Thomas.
Yep, here we go. Deja vu for Cameron Rich. Just like the first run, watch for the 17 car now to put distance between him and Dylan Thomas. We'll see if Beers and Crump can make up any time or try to go with Rich and close that gap.
See, here's the thing, right? Cameron or Scott Crump has driven up to third from, I want to say he restarted in 15th. That being said, the tires on that 8 car cannot be very good. And then Austin Beers is already rather aggressive. We've seen the tires kind of fall off of that 19 car as well at about this point in the run. And, you know, I think Delicato maybe should have fought them a little bit harder to keep them behind. You know, that 1 car probably needs this track position, needs to be able to stay up there with the 17 and the 03. You know, letting those guys by, they're going to be hard to get around. And once those tires start to fall off, which I imagine they will pretty quickly for that 8 car, as we're already seeing it with the 03, you know, it may have been a mistake to kind of let them by there.
Well, we still got time if you're in Delicato. There's definitely no need to panic right now. You got basically 110 laps to go. You're gonna have at least one more pit stop, whether that's a green flag pit stop or we have a couple cautions here. So there's gonna be time. You made up 15 or so positions on that first green flag run. So sitting here in 5th right now is not a bad spot, and we'll see if he can run down Cameron Rich through the pit stop process, see what he can do.
I guess I'm just trying to get us somebody up here to hang with Cameron Rich, right? And once this 10 laps into the run hits, Cameron Rich is gone, man. He's put a second on Dylan Thomas in the last, 3 laps since he took the lead back. And you see Beers kind of struggling a little bit, and Delicato's putting pressure on him, but he's unable to get back around. And, you know, he's losing time right now to Cameron Rich because he, you know, didn't fight so hard earlier and ended up letting this 19 get by. And now he's got to get him back. He's losing time, and Cameron Rich is now, 3 seconds up the road.
Closing in on the halfway point here. Lap 91 just got put on the board.
It's a dance. It's always a dance. With, do you save tires? Do you go for it? And it's not always a dance that's easy to figure out the moves to. You can get that thing wrong. You can step on somebody's toes, but at the end of the race, what are you going to have if this thing goes green to the end? And I think that's the question you always have to ask yourself. In this series, we could definitely see this thing go green to the end. And if that's the case, guys like Indelicato, guys like Cameron Rich, these guys who are so good at, like Nick Massey right there as well, so good at saving tires, so good at keeping that thing smooth, they're going to be the ones who rise to the top at the end.
Speaking of Nick Massey, I had just looked before Carlos put him on camera. He's back in the top 10.
He sure is, man. That, you remember, he not, 15 laps ago, he was sideways coming off of turn 2, losing 8 positions. Now he's back in the top 10, and this thing is still going. I think the guy he's trying to pass, Ryan Barbier, he's been in the wall 3 times on this run. A couple of impressive comebacks here early in this run.
Crump's going to start to close in on Dylan Thomas here pretty quickly for second. But I was going to say, to finish up on that Indelicato Rich conversation too, was I'd expect by the time we hit pit road next time, as long as it stays green, I'd expect that number 1 car to be sitting in the 2nd position.
Yeah, I think so. He's certainly going to have the speed, but Scott Crump's been very impressive, right? He has pulled 87 tenths on Indelicato, and he's running 31.5 second laps. Indelicato just ran a 31.5 second lap. So he's not gaining on that 8 car, but Crump was like ultra aggressive early in this run. He was able to get a lot of positions. He came from well outside the top 10 up to 3rd. I mean, this is a massive restart run by Scott Crump. He is gaining quickly on Dylan Thomas for second. He was just faster than Indelicato that time, buddy.
You look through the field, I mean, from Massey in 9th to Indelicato, it's really only like 2.5 seconds, something like that. So there's not that much gap in between 3rd to 9th. These guys can still make quite a bit of passes here that are in the back of the pack or that have saved some tires. They can pick up quite a few spots here over the next 10, 15 laps or so.
Battle for 5th. Ryan Gavel got underneath Austin Beers after he wiggled out of turn 2. Beers tried to fight back in 3 and 4 to no avail. Gavel to 5th, Beers to 6th. Joe Francis and Andy Trupiano trying to hunt them down now. and then Nick Massey.
Johnny Thomas on the move. He's in 12th right now.
Hunting after
Passing.
Matty B.
Yep. Barbieri right there in front of him as well.
Barbieri's car looks like it starts to get a little squirrely after a couple of laps. He was one of the ones who fell back in that first run alongside Campbell and Leininger.
So we're closing in on about 30 laps since that caution came out. So just kind of putting that on your radar here. Next 20 laps or so, maybe if it stays green, we might start seeing some people making their way down pit road again.
This doesn't show bonus points anymore. No, it does show the bonus points. Yeah, we get stage points at the halfway. 10 bonus points for the stage winner. Cameron Rich looking to collect that here in a couple of laps, as we don't throw a caution for the stages, just as NASCAR shouldn't.
Yeah, I'd say as long as Cameron doesn't loop it out here in the next lap and a half, he should be pretty good to pick up those points. He's got a 2.6 second lead as we speak.
And the battle will be for second between Thomas and Crump, I think, for... Oh, and Delicato almost loops it, as you mentioned. One car not able to close in at all on Scott Crump, man. What an impressive run for Crump in this little segment of the race here, man. That 8 car has really shown some strength. I wonder what he can do if he has that track position coming off with tires next time.
So this will be the halfway point here.
Yep. Francis and Beers battling for that 6th spot, worth 4 points. Actually worth 5 points, and 4 to the loser of that battle. Cameron Rich will come off and collect those halfway points right here. Dylan Thomas will get the 2nd place points, and Delicato will get 4th, Crump 3rd. Gavel 4th, and at the line, Francis nips Beers. Massey, Trupiano, and Barbieri collect those stage points. Johnny Thomas just didn't get stage points that time, and he will get Ryan Barbieri now here down the back straightaway into 10th.
Good battle here. Beers and Francis seems like they've been grouped up for a while now.
19 car got real loose there coming off of turn 4. Francis clears, and now Massey to the top of the racetrack.
Yeah, Nick Massey says thank you very much there. He's going to jump to the high side and try to go around Beers.
Definitely a scary situation to some degree for Nick Massey with that 19 car so sideways. Same for Francis. That could have been a big wreck. Good car control from the Wayland modified driver, and Francis just about lost it. He's going to drop back a couple of spots. Nick Massey up into P6.
Tires probably starting to wear out for some of these guys, and as I say that, we got 1 car down pit road.
Brendan Bach, 33 car, I believe. Gavin Hibbs looks like he's struggling. He just clapped the wall. It did the 9 car. That left front damage, I think, as this run is going on, is not helping him, and he falls from 13th back to what looks like 17th now.
Scott Crump still trying to close in on Dylan Thomas. Hasn't quite been able to get there. The gap is about 2.5 tenths at this point in time. That's on your bottom multi-view camera there.
Fastest 3 at that last lap. Nick Massey, Ryan Gavel, Nick and Delicato in that order.
I think Bach is back down pit road or just now got into his stall.
Murphy sped coming off and is running into having to make another penalty pit stop. Massey going after Gavel there for that 5th position. Massey's car is really fast right now. He has been able to cool those tires down after that big slide, and now has maybe some of the best tires in the top 10.
Yeah, and he's right there behind Gavel trying to make the pass. I would put him into the top 5. This could get interesting here, David. If we get Rich, Crump, and Delicato and Massey all on fresh tires together, we could have ourselves a great finish to this one.
Yeah, the thing is Cameron Rich just put down the fastest lap in the top 10 that time. So his demise was short-lived. Nick Massey's still stuck here behind Ryan Gavel. I just think he's got such a big lead at this point. It's going to be tough for any of these guys to chase him down. If there isn't some kind of caution. Obviously, as Austin Beers hits pit road, one of the first ones to hit pit road once again.
Yeah, and then Gavin Hibbs on pit road as well.
He's hurting. That car went off a cliff, I think, with that left front damage.
There's Narducci pulling into his spot as well.
It's funny how things work, right? I mean, that car hit about as hard as Aaron Smith's did, but then Smith nosed it into the fence, and Narducci was bouncing around and hit the side of the car on the fence, and that car's still running. Aaron Smith's has been KO'd, done for the night.
Here comes Bayuk down pit road. So next lap will be about 40 laps from when, well, I guess we're over 40 laps. I think caution came out on lap 66. So we're about 42 laps into this run now. And cars starting to come down pit road right around the same time we saw them in the first green flag stop.
I think they're pretty clearly dividing this run into 3 parts, right? They'll make another pit stop at lap 160 or so, and then run 40 more laps to close this race out. That's what they're looking at here. 70 laps, I don't think anybody can run 70 laps, so I think you will have to make those 3 stops. So this definitely is that window to make the race on one more stop here.
Gerald Campbell coming down pit road. Looked like he came in a little hot. I think he got it woed up in time. Massey did get around Gavel for that 5th position.
Massey's the fastest car on the racetrack right now that doesn't have fresh tires.
Nick Massey into the top 5 for the first time tonight.
Last lap by Dylan Thomas was in the 31-second bracket with Cameron Rich. Nick Massey wearing the 31.9 flat. Everyone else is high 31.9s, low 32s.
Looks like Scott Crump, after his impressive run, is starting to fade a little bit. He's dropped down to 4 tenths, almost 5 tenths now behind Dylan Thomas, so his car's starting to fall off.
And Dylan's been able to maintain a pretty good amount. Remember, we saw Cameron Rich's lead up at like 6-7 seconds last time. Now it's only just those 3.5 seconds. Like, he got almost all of that in the first 5 laps after he passed Dylan Thomas. And since then, he's only been able to pull out about 6 more tenths of a second in the whole rest of the run. So Dylan's had a really strong long run pace. He just hasn't been able to have that middle run pace after he takes the lead. And that's kind of where Cameron's whipping everybody right now. A lot of these guys are staying out, though. They're pretty committed to this longer-term strategy. Beers, Bayou, Hibbs, Narducci, Campbell, a lot of those guys going for that 3-stopper. And here comes Leininger as well.
I think Zishan's coming down pit road too. 2 more cars down.
Just remember, with all these cars with fresh tires, that's another car that has a massive closing rate on some of these guys around them. You see just how much faster Brandon Bach is than the top 10. Bach hasn't really been a threat much at all today. And Johnny Thomas been in the top 10 all day. Rubiano's been in the top 10 most of the race. And those guys go flashing around really quickly. So you're just going to have to be very, very careful, very spatially aware. Otherwise, we could get into a wreck pretty quickly here if good communication isn't being had amongst the drivers.
So basically, what's coming down to the strategy is when do you want to take a 50-ish lap run? And it seems like maybe the leaders are choosing to do that now, pushing to lap 120, and then going to split that 40 and 40 the rest of the way.
I think that's exactly what they're looking at right here. I think you're going to have to make that 50-lap run. I think everybody knew that. If you can do it now without losing time, and if you're kind of planning for this thing to stay green, now is the time to do it, right? You'll build up that lead. You'll have the faster car, the better tires in this second and third run, both. really mostly in the second run, and then you'll come to pit road at the same time as those guys that you're running around. So I like this strategy by a lot of the leaders here.
Well, speak of it now, Cameron Rich has been able to expand that gap just a little bit, up over 4 seconds now.
Yeah, Cameron is a solid 10th and a half faster than everybody else, and he's
Here he comes
down pit road too. Crump is also down pit road. So is Gavel. So is Mike Christopher. So is Rawl. Bunch of guys coming down pit road here.
Might have been easier just to tell you who didn't come. That was Nick and Delicato and Delicato and Massey.
Dylan Thomas and Joe Francis. Bars that did not come down pit road that time. Barbieri's pitting this time.
That leaves about 6 cars up front that have not.
Boy.
Here comes Delicato and Massey this time too.
1 and 48 both had a monster pit road entry. They picked up a ton of time on Dylan Thomas if they didn't speed. We'll have to take a quick look and see if they come out in a reasonable time frame. But Delicato and Massey playing fast and loose with the pit road speeding right there. I mean, they were real close to speeding if they didn't. Delicato didn't speed. He's good. Massey's still in the box. I think the 48 got popped. Nick Massey speeding on pit road, lap 116. That'll end your day real quick.
So after all of that, Austin Beers inherits the race lead.
And based on that pit strategy, having those fresh tires, that will get you the lead. And now Austin Beers would very much like a caution so that he can control this race before Cameron Rich comes back to him.
That gap just went from 4.3 down to 2.6. So Cameron Rich is definitely coming.
He's about a second and a lap faster right now than Austin Beers. It was that much last time by. We'll see what Beers runs this time, but.
And everyone watching, David Sphere has come to a head. As you look at Cameron Rich, right? He's 2 seconds behind Austin Beers. You look at Bayuk, he's 3.5 seconds back, and then everyone behind that is 6+ seconds behind your race leader. So
yeah, it's his closest competition. Had some pit road issues. I think Massey was going to be maybe the closest one. And he also got the jump on Thomason and Delicato, right? Those guys came down a lap or two after. They'll be a little bit faster, right? They'll eat into his lead, I think, but yeah, that's bad news for the field. Cameron Rich had a spectacular pit road, I think, right there, and really gapped those guys.
got to work around a lap car right here.
Last lap by, he ran a 30.294. That's among the fastest laps I've seen in this race. Austin Beers ran a 31.2. Full second a lap faster than Austin Beers right now.
Joe Francis just ran the fastest lap of the race, 29.94.
And there's a 29er for Joe Francis, so definitely, yeah, the speeds have picked up now that the sun has set.
Here we go, pass for the race lead.
Beers have nothing for us, for Cameron Rich right here. That's the plus side of the short pit strategy is you get the race lead for a little bit. The minus side is that now these guys all have very fresh tires. You're playing defense. You're trying to take care of your stuff and, you know, maintain rather than be on offense. I tend to like to be on offense a lot more, but short pitting can have its benefits. You know, if the caution comes out, Austin Beers is up in second, Bayuk's up in third, Gavin Hibbs is up in fifth. But if this thing goes green, you know, those guys are going to fall back, and they're going to have to pit a lot sooner than everybody else around them.
All right, so with Massey basically out of the equation now, my two would maybe be Crump and a Delicato. Who do you got, David, that could maybe have a shot at challenging Cameron Rich?
I got the caution flag, and I got the pit road speed limit.
All right. So if we combine those, we might have a chance.
Cameron Rich has been an absolutely dominant force today, man. This is a spectacular performance thus far, but we have seen this from this 17 car this year. He ran pretty much a race just like this last week. And with, about three quarters into the race, caution came out, and we were in the middle of a green flag cycle. Cameron Rich lost the lead and was never able to get through the field and get it back.
This is vintage Cameron Rich, right? You mentioned it in the open. This is what we saw all last year, where he just got out front and controlled a lot of races, and that's exactly what he's been able to do here tonight.
Right, and that shows he's a real skilled driver, really talented. And, this is not an easy field to dominate. That's we've seen. It's why we kind of give Nick Massey such glowing reviews, is that he's been able to win 2 championships in this league, and seeing all these races and kind of broadcasting as much as we have, we know any race is just about anybody's bet, and we don't see very many spankings put on at this point. When one is, Cameron Rich is real impressive. Looking in at Joe Francis, Damian Leininger. Damian's falling back. He was on the short pit strategy. And Joe Francis on the quick strategy. He's coming through the field right now on fresh tires.
Scott Crump has made his way up into third. He got around Matthew Bayuk. About 3 or so seconds, maybe 3.5 seconds behind Austin Beers.
And that was I think the lap or two. I think he had 2-ish laps where he pitted before. I think he pitted on the same lap as Cameron Rich, and then Dylan Thomas, Gavel, and Delicato. Those guys all pitted later. Caution's out. There it is. Just as Crump was going for second around Beers. We got Narducci, maybe? What happened? Johnny Thomas is damaged on the left front of that car.
Just don't be super.
It is Narducci. It's going to be a bump from Mike Christopher. Right into Johnny Thomas. Absolutely nowhere to go. Oh my goodness. Look at this, guys. Oh, man. That's twice that 98 car has spun around and run into someone who was minding their own business. On board with Johnny Thomas here, and just there's going to be a wall of car right there and nowhere to go for Johnny Thomas. A break there, and I don't know, man. I don't know whether Christopher and Narducci did anything there.
I don't think Scott we ever did both. Yeah, enjoy your vacation, you know.
Pit stops will be coming here. Everyone's going to get 4 fresh tires. We'll probably interview Johnny Thomas after pit stops hit. Cameron Rich down into the box. Good clean stop here. And Narducci has disconnected from the server, so tough break, tough race for the 98 car there. Rich easily first off pit road. Crump gets second from Beers, so that is a change of position. 8 car does beat out the 19. And I believe Bayou picks up 4th, so he even picked up a spot on Dylan Thomas right there. Bit of an interesting development there is Mike Christopher spun out a guy to get the caution. He would get the lucky dog, but I believe it will go to the lapped car behind him because he was involved in the incident. So I believe Nick Massey is going to get the lucky dog here. I need to message Johnny Eckert, race control, and see whether that's the case.
Christopher is being shown on the lead lap right now as we speak.
They are. Let's see what happens. But they would get the wave around. One of them's getting the wave around. One of them should get the lucky dog, or maybe Kyle Hanshaw get the lucky dog. That might be what it is. I think that is exactly what it is. Kyle Hanshaw get the lucky dog there. Yep. So the Massey and Christopher will have to take the wave around. And Johnny Thomas got a bunch of damage, so should we bring him in and
Jesse.
interview him here? I think we should.
Everybody bring him up.
Johnny, it's David in the booth. You got me?
Hey, what's happening?
Hey, we've been watching you run about top 10 all day, and then looked like you got sucked up into something you had nowhere to go. Take us through that one and take us through your day a little bit.
Yeah, man, it's a tough race out there. Cars are a handful. You get loose off a lot. You get tight in as the run goes on. And these cars, they're fun. It's a blast to run this track, but it's just a handful. And typically when the cars are hard to drive, that's when you don't see as many cautions. It's weird how that works. And yeah, that incident there with Mike and I think the 98, not sure what happened. It looks like the 82 just ran over the 98. I don't know if you guys saw it a little bit better than I did, but seemed uncalled for, these lap cars. You know, even Brian was on older tires, but still, you got to give a little bit more room than that.
There's really not anything.
We can tell if we saw the 98 has already been spun around once today, so we were just not sure whether there was another case of him washing up in front of somebody or what. But are you done for the day here, Johnny? Or are you hoping to get back out there?
Yeah, we broke the front end, so it's pretty much done for the day. I'm watching the replay now, and the 98 car, he's just all over the place. I know the 82 got into him, but 98 cars, I mean, his car looked like something that was in a demolition derby.
That's been a little bit, but all right. Before we let you go, anybody you want to thank here for this one?
Yeah, the title sponsor of this race, Harper Designs, they came on board sponsoring a few races for us, and they're sponsoring the big one. It's 100 to win, so a lot of money up for grabs.
Sounds good, Johnny. Well, we appreciate it, and have a good rest of your night, even though you won't be racing for it.
Yep, you too, guys.
And Johnny Thomas back to the ERSCA hauler. He'll now partake in race control with old Johnny Eckert, while we get back under green with just 68 laps to go. Cameron Rich picked the top on this restart. And green flag is out. Cameron Rich got a huge jump on Scott Crump and Matthew Bayuk. Austin Deers as well. No one able to match that 17 car early in the run. He's out to another big lead. Everyone single files out quickly again, but Dylan Thomas is going to go for fourth on Bayuk. Beers going to go for second on Crump. Crump throwing a little block there. Battle for second could get pretty spicy.
Two guys that are very aggressive here on the starts of runs going to go at it for second and third. Beers has it by half a car at the line, but not quite able to clear.
Bayuk able to hold Dylan Thomas off back there for fourth. Battle is in front of him. It's Beers and Crump holds off Beers on the top side. Right about now is when these guys in second start to challenge up Cameron Rich. I can't help but wonder if they would ride behind him a little bit, if they could stick with him for a longer term run, because you will have to make another pit stop here the rest of the way. You cannot, I don't believe, go 68 laps on a tank of fuel. So I imagine.
What do you
these
think
guys...
that cutoff is, David? Do you think they split it 40-30 or 38-30, whatever that breakdown is? But do you think they put the longer run here and try to go with fresher tires for that shorter run?
Here's what I would have done. I would have gone, all right, what are we starting with? 68 to go? I'm coming in lap 34. What lap is that, right? Like, that's the lap I'm coming in. I think that's 164 for these guys. So that would be my calculus right here. Run two identical runs, try to maximize my fresh tires, don't run a long one, and take it to the end.
Got Dylan Thomas putting pressure on Austin Beers now for that third position.
And 0-3 has been really, really strong today. I think definitely one of the top 3 cars in this race today has been Dylan Thomas, which is a mighty impressive run.
Well, I guess we did see him in that last run get up to the second place position, and I guess he even did take the lead for a few laps, but other than that, kind of been sticking around the third place spot.
Rawls in the wall. Joe Francis jumps to his outside back there for about 10th place. But yes, Dylan Thomas now trapped behind Austin Beers a little bit, and it's costing him some ground. Scott Crump's the only one able to stick with Cameron Rich to this point in the run, and he's even losing time. Lost 2/10 that lap.
Couple two-car breakaways here. Crump and Rich up front. Then we got this battle that we're talking about in Beers and Thomas. And then there's a little bit of a gap back to Bayuk, who started to separate himself from the rest of the top 10.
Right, it's these guys are starting to push a little bit more, but they do know, right, you've got to pit again. You've got to manage your stuff for this 34-lap stint. Can anybody manage it better than Cameron Rich? The answer thus far in the run, absolutely not. Cameron Rich has been just spectacular at having good short and long run pace on these tires. And that's what you've got to do in this series with this car. You've got to be able to manage those tires, run it long, and run very fast. For every portion of the run, Cameron Rich doing a masterful job today.
We'll be really curious, David, to see if Crump goes with your strategy here and just kind of hangs on to that 17 car. 34 laps will go by pretty quickly if they try to split it in half, so it might be a good learning lesson for Crump here to just see what he's got, see if he has any shot at trying to go with Cameron Rich. Rich has expanded it by a 10th or 2 here over this last lap, though.
Right, he's definitely pushing a little bit harder than he has before. I don't even know that it's going to be possible for someone to come up and get him. Crump's definitely the only one who can right now, but he's losing about a 10th a lap. Cameron Rich is definitely in his own zip code at this point. I haven't seen anybody who can maintain that kind of speed other than that 17 car, which, new paint job, maybe that fresh coat of paint with the neon yellow, that's what it needed. Last week it was kind of a sandy yellow, and maybe everyone couldn't see it. Now they can see just how fast it is. Maybe it cuts through the air a little better. Since he got up into, we got the camera on him there. Since he got up into the top 3, I think he was even second for a little bit. Nick and Delicato has gone straight backwards. Simply hasn't gotten up there and run with these guys kind of like I thought he would. And, that's just an interesting development. I wonder if he got the wall at some point, or maybe these tires just don't agree with him early in the runs. But that one car has not shown quite the same amount of pace that it was in the Xfinity Series last season.
Kind of seems his run here early seems similar to kind of what we've seen out of Joe Francis, where he backs up couple positions right off the start. Don't know if it's trying to get the tires warmed up or whatever, but then as the run goes on, not even on a long-term run, but 10-15 laps in, we start to see him make his move through the field once again.
Don't know what happened, but Gavin Hibbs is now off the track 6 laps down. And yeah, I mean, it's odd, right? I'm not, and Delicato does have that kind of propensity to lose a little more than he needs to gain back on the long run. In the short run, right, he'll lose a couple of spots, and then it makes it tough for him to gain them back. But I don't know, these last couple of runs, he just hasn't had the short run pace either. I mean, he's back in 7th, and Bayuk's driving away from him, Gavel's driving away from him. He's holding these guys up, that's for sure, right now.
Trupiano, what a day he's had. He's been up and down throughout the field most of the day, and here he sits right behind Delicato in that 8th place position, looking to go to the high side, trying to make something work up there to get around.
Ooh. One car put a block on that 7 car. Second time he's done that in the last couple of straightaways. Trupiano wants by, and Delicato does not want to yield it.
So Francis to the inside.
Crossover. Here comes Trupiano to the bottom, forcing Delicato up top. Francis kind of backed out of it there. He was like, man, this battle's getting a little intense for me. I'm going to give them a little more space before I try to jump on this one car up top.
Trupiano got loose coming out of the corner there, trying to slide up, couldn't quite get there, and Delicano still had his nose to the outside, but now he's got the position, moved Trupiano up to 7th, and Delicano back to 8th, and now Joe Francis will look to go after that 8th place position.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I mean, we don't usually see Indelicato be the one to drop through the field after 15 laps on a restart, right? He's usually one of these guys motoring through the field, and that was it early in the race. He certainly looked like the type of car that was going to do this. 3-wide moment there as Eisenman comes back on track with a damaged race car, but you know, now he's going backwards. Francis moving forward, Trupiano moving back forward. We've seen him drop through the field with old tires today, and that 7 car looking a little bit more racy than it has early in the race. Maybe the nighttime is the right time for that car. Track's definitely changing handling too. In the night, it's going to be a lot grippier, maybe a little bit easier to run, and Delicato probably likes it a little bit tougher to drive. He can maybe make up some more ground there, make a bigger difference. Now it's more of a you know, aggressive track, and that's why we're seeing Crump, Beers, Dylan Thomas right up at the front. Tim Rich has about a second on Scott Crump up front. Austin Beers has managed to pull out a half-second advantage on Dylan Thomas, who has about another half-second back to Matthew Bayuk, who is now getting passed by Ryan Gabel.
And keeping my eye on number 1 and 2 position, we're starting to close in on that point of the run where Scott Crump just blows everybody out of the water, and the gap's at about 1.2 seconds right now between the two. Sorry, I might have said Crump. I meant Rich blows everybody out of the water. And we'll see if he starts expanding this lead here over the next 5 to 10 laps.
Scott Crump's been rather impressive in the fact that he's been able to keep it at about a second to 1.2, and he hasn't fallen any further than that back, but yeah, this is about that time, right, where Cameron Rich's car just seems to stay right here at about 31.5 to 31.8, and then he'll just run that till the end of the run. So, and everybody else falls into the 32s and loses half a second a lap to Cameron Rich, and he just doesn't fall off, it seems like. Worth noting, back into the top 10 right now, James Heater has arrived. He hasn't been in the top 10 at all this season, but you know, we've seen him there a lot in the past couple of ERSCA seasons. And Heater having a good run tonight. He hasn't had such good luck early part of this year, so definitely a needed run for that 11, the 11 car back there. Also worth noting the Nick Massey car and the Mike Christopher car. They got the wave around. Those guys. Yeah, we got news. An incident has happened that we missed because the caution didn't come out. We'll get there in a second. I will say Massey and Christopher, they are 13th and 14th right now, respectively. And, you know, with wave around, they got old tires, but they're still in the lead lap, still in the hunt if that caution had come out. We'll go back and get the replay right now for you. It's going to be Andy Trupiano, unfortunately. Although there's Gerald Campbell spinning it. He saves it. I think Andy Trupiano's already wrecked here, so we'll see what happened to Trupiano before this. Heavy damage there. Looks like another incident with a lapped car, perhaps. Disappointing for Trupiano for sure. He had been in the top 10. Oh yeah, right here. 3 wide between Francis Trupiano and lapped car Eisenman. And Eisenman comes down, looks like a little netcode, and then he hooks the 7 into the fence. Tough break for Trupiano. He was having a really good run.
Yeah, and he had like I said, a rough start to the night, and it just kind of up and down night for him, and unfortunately it looks like it's going to end on a low point here with 45 laps to go in this one.
pile on, but I do note the last week we had Eisenman in the booth talking about respect on the track. And, you know, 3 wide on the top, that's, I don't know, man. That's a lapped car. That's tough to see where that's useful, but luckily Francis not involved. Unfortunate for Trupiano. And Johnny had kind of lamented the lappers as well in this one with Christopher spinning Narducci. And yeah, just a tough situation there where Eisenman's 10, 15 laps down, but has fresh tires, has that speed. Just has to be a little bit smarter with those moves on those lead lap cars. So with 44 laps to go, coming to 43 to go, Cameron Rich, the race leader, he's leading by about 2.2 seconds over Scott Crump. Austin Beers sits 3.7 back in third. Then it's Dylan Thomas, Ryan Gavel, Matthew Bayuk, Joe Francis, Nick Indelicato, James Heater, and Damian Leininger has cracked into the top 10 once again. After all the crashing has been done, Heater having a good run, Leininger having a good run. Francis pressuring Bayuk after maybe getting away with one a couple of laps ago.
Gap is stretched out to 2.5. We got cars down pit road.
Yep, those are the wave around cars, Nick Massey and Mike Christopher. And, you know, they were able to keep within 12 seconds. They, you know, they'll have to run longer, but they will make up a good bit of that time. You know, we'll see. You know, they could get some good track position here if the caution comes out and falls right for them. Christopher's been fast. He's had a couple of chances to win races this year. He finished runner-up last week at Nashville Superspeedway. And was very good at Richmond the week before. Overall, though, I think we're still about 5 to 10 laps from seeing all these lead lap cars come down the road.
Laps to go here. Here comes Joe Francis under Bayuk. That is for the 6th position.
Yep, Francis real strong right now as he clears Bayuk for 6th. Yeah, that car's been moving forward. Funny, right? Scott Crump was faster at this point in the run, last run, when he was aggressive on his tires early. Right, he was almost closer to Rich at this point in the run last time. He was hunting Dylan Thomas, and you know, I don't know, man. Maybe there's something to that, being a little more aggressive early in the run. But at least we're seeing Joe Francis right now clicking off good laps. We're seeing, you know, Crump fall back into the clutches of Austin Beers. Seth Rawls on pit road. 38 laps to go. Rawls almost dividing this thing in two. I like being the first one down at this point, right? You know, if a caution's going to come out, this is the one time it's going to be the most beneficial, because everyone will come back down pit road for tires. If it goes green from here, you know, Rawls may be in trouble, but he wasn't running in the top 10 anyway. And he'll be the first car on fresh tires right now. Here they come, Gavel, Indelicato, Bayuk, all the shift cars down pit road. Following Rawls' footsteps. Leininger is also down pit road. Campbell's out on the track, actually. Never mind. Heater coming this time. Into our final set of green flag pit stops. Beers was not the first one down this time. He actually managed to stay out longer. Heater down pit road. Barbieri down pit road this time. Gavilan and Delicato and Bayuk are all off pit road. Funny, Nick Massey just went by those guys. So while Massey's gonna have that track position temporarily, but he's gonna fall back on him. Oh, Rawls had a black flag get cleared. Keeter's still on pit road. Wonder if he sped.
What time is it over there?
Clock is dinging. It's a Martinsville clock. We're at Charlotte. Peter is off pit road. Think he will be all right. Rich, Crump, Thomas still on the racetrack. Gavel the first, well, actually Nick Massey's the first car on fresh tires in 8th, but his tires less fresh than Ryan Gavel's in 10th.
Campbell down pit road. That just leaves 6 of them left. Come down.
Yeah, Cameron Rich, I mean, he'll be on the attack, but he will not be in the lead for the first 10, maybe, laps. That would be the time where someone else could take control of the race. If the caution comes out, when Cameron Rich comes down pit road here, and then everybody else is, you know, up in front of him, all these guys with fresh tires that are gaining time on him right now, Austin Beers coming down pit road. There will be a time. And Dylan Thomas down pit road as well. So Scott Crump. Everybody got a jump on Rich right there. So I think Cameron has to react. I think he needs to come down this time.
Looks like Joe Francis stayed out too, so there's 2 cars left.
Yeah, why not? I mean,
come down.
you can go 10 more laps, and yeah, Cameron Rich coming down pit road this time. Looks pretty smooth. Looks like he was there at 45 miles an hour. Francis will take the lead. First laps he's led all day, I believe.
Intro has not come down pit road yet either.
Gavel
He's
is
currently running in the 3rd position.
for caution timing's sake. Gavel and Delicato just about to unlap themselves, which will put. Oh man, that is a dangerous position. Francis trying to get out of the way there. That will put those guys in position to capitalize if the caution comes out before, before Francis pits. I think Francis obviously playing the long game here, right? It's not going to work out if the caution doesn't come out in the next couple of laps before he pits, but, you know, he might as well try, right? What if you get a chance to have, you know, come down pit road with the lead? And you see there those guys go flashing by Cameron Rich. They have the track position now. Rich does not, and for the next 10 to 15 laps while Cameron Rich hunts these guys down, it's going to be stressful for the driver of that 17 car. If the caution comes out, he would lose control of this race to the shift drivers of Gavel and Delicato, Nick Massey and Mike Christopher, the 2 wave arounds, who are definitely going to be slower, but we'll see. Rich on laps there.
To see how far Joe Francis pushes this.
At this point, you go all the way. You go all the way. You go till that fuel cell is empty, man. You've already sacrificed your top 10 finish, I think, at this point. So you just go till that fuel cell is empty, and you hope that the caution comes out, and those guys have all run enough laps. They come down pit road behind you. Nick Massey still technical, you know, the de facto leader. Gavel 2nd, Indelicato 3rd, Bayuk 4th, Christopher 5th, Rich 6th, and subtract those guys down 1 because Francis is still out there, but he obviously cannot make it to the end. How bad does it look? Dylan Thomas stayed out there way too long. He's down in 13th. Scott Crump's down in 10th. It's going to be tough for those guys to make up that track position. Like, I think Cameron Rich can climb, 5 spots because he's right behind these guys on the same straightaway as these guys. I mean, Dylan Thomas is way back there.
Cameron Rich, fastest lap of the race, 26.9. Excuse me, 29. 1.91.
17 cars flying right now. Got around Christopher. That's for the 6th position, the de facto 5th position. He's only 2 seconds behind Nick Massey. It's a matter of time here for Cameron Rich.
Let me tell you, Scott Crump's got to be moving too. He just jumped up 2 positions, got around Rawls and Heater. So they're both starting to make their way through the pack here. There's about 2 seconds between both of them.
Yeah, about 2 seconds there between. Massey now under fire from Gavel. That's not for the race lead. Joe Francis is still out on the racetrack. But Gavel will bypass Massey, who is at this point hoping for a caution. He has about 10 laps older tires than the rest of these guys. And look at there, Cameron Rich coming into your picture. He is on a mission to get this race lead back. He's going to have to get around Massey here. And he will do so. And now he's going after Indelicato and Gavel. And those are the only 2 left in his way. Gavel shuts the door. Rich has to lift.
Francis down pit road.
There goes Joe. So he has given up the long game. And Delicato's going to try to put pressure back on Rich. So they're doing all they can, as this is now the battle for the race lead. But I don't know if there's going to be anything they can do with that 17 car.
Caution.
Whoa, whoa! Joe Francis had just pitted. I think he stays in the lead lap. He was in front of these guys, so I think Francis is going to stay on the lead lap. Ryan Gavel is the leader. Shoot, Joe Francis might be the leader with fresh tires. I haven't seen this happen. I think Joe Francis is the race leader with fresh tires. That's what iRacing's saying. He picked up, yeah, Joe Francis picked up the base car. The long strategy worked to perfection. It couldn't have worked any better for Joe Francis. As we get Kyle Bach going around in the center of the corner. That was weird. Right in front of the race leaders. Cameron Rich almost T-boned him. Oh, who did? Was it Crump?
That Crump. That was Crump's car.
Scott Crump clobbered him. Oh, disappointing
Did he blow a
for
tire?
Scott Crump. Would not have known. Cameron Rich dodges. Crump doesn't have anywhere to go. Oh, he hit the inside pit wall too. Oh my goodness. And an end. Day's over for Scott Crump. For what it's worth, interesting development. Several cars stay out. Cameron Rich came down pit road for fresh tires. He is going to have to come from the very back of the lead lap right here. Just, that is not, oh man, Scott Crump got to be unhappy after that one. Had a very strong race going and winds up into the pit barrels. Very interesting call here by some of these guys. And look at, there it is. And here he goes into the pit barrels. Oh, man. Race over for one of the strongest cars here tonight. I am genuinely very surprised by the strategy call of Cameron Rich, Nick Indelicato to come down pit road there. Nick Massey, I'm not surprised by at all. Massey was hurting on those tires. Mike Christopher, however, on the same strategy as Massey, has stayed out on older tires, but to re-rack it, Joe Francis has the race lead. He has the freshest tires. And he goes down pit road this time. Everybody does. Interesting. They're just giving it back to Cameron Rich.
That is interesting. I'll be Campbell. Then Handshock, and then Cameron Rich.
I'm not sure what happened there. Did Rich pit in a closed pit?
Rich? I don't think so.
It would seem weird for Rich, Indelicato, and Massey to all have that situation happen.
And Bayou. That's just weird. Why would Francis come down pit road? He just pitted.
Did he ever get...
Maybe he didn't get tires.
Tired?
Maybe he just came through pit road.
I think he just drove through because the caution came out.
Then why would those guys have not pitted? They would get a black flag right now. These guys have to all have pitted early. Cameron Rich, Indelicato, Massey. That's not a mistake. Those three guys are not making that mistake though, right? Like, what do they just
That's what
get a
I'm
free
saying,
first
like,
pit
for-
stop?
For all three
Yeah,
of them,
here,
to make
here they
that
come.
mistake-
Look, Bayuk's going by him. Well, let's see. We need Johnny Thomas in here. We need the admins to give us what's going on with the rule book. Either way, Gerald Campbell stayed out. He's going to be the leader of the race no matter what. And yeah, those guys are streaming around. I think those guys pitted with a close pit. What a crazy mistake. Bayuk now is the car in control of this thing. Unbelievable. Yeah, Rich is falling back. So's Indelicato, so's Massey. How did those three guys make the same mistake?
That's the thing that I keep going to, David. Like, it seems unbelievable, one, that it would happen to Cameron Rich, but then for those two to go with them and do the exact same thing.
I guess I understand if I'm behind Cameron Rich. I'm perfectly I'm following Cameron Rich down pit road. I think that makes sense to me, but man, those three guys, just those three guys. I will tell you, Campbell's got an ERSCA win, but he's going to be falling back here. Bayuk does not. Gavel does not. Christopher does not. Heater does not. Rawls, I don't believe he does. Dylan Thomas does, but it was on a dirt car, so I don't think Dylan Thomas has an oval ERSCA win. And then Austin Beers won last week. He'll restart in 9th.
So you're saying, unless we wad them up here, there's a pretty good chance we might get a first ERSCA winner.
There is a very reasonable chance we get a first-time ERSCA winner. Reasonable chance, I would say. I wouldn't count Cameron Rich out of this thing, honestly. I mean, you know, that car has been so quick tonight. He is so good at this place. Would not shock me at all if he was to go in and, you know, pass all these guys. But like, we have some technical difficulties on Carlos's end, at least on our end here. I don't see the broadcast going anymore. We good, Carlos? Did we lose Carlos?
I don't know.
It's showing as frozen on Carlos's end. Looks like the stream's still up. Oh, yep, we're back. All right, good. Good. All right, we're back. Matthew Bayuk and Johnny. Yeah, all right, we're back.
We lost the main feed, unfortunately. I'm working on it.
That's all right. As long as we have a feed for these last 21 laps.
That's why I got redundancy.
Mm-hmm. Smart producing from producer Carlos, who always does a great job. Gerald Campbell leading this race, but he's going to fall back early, I think. This is the down to Bayuk, Gavel, Christopher, Peter, Rawls. Let's see what happens. Campbell brings him down really, really slow. Bunch of guys jumped. That's going to stack the field up. Yeah. Bayuk spins him going into third gear. He's still spinning him. Gavel spins. There they go. Caution's out. Leininger, Barbieri. I want to say Dylan Thomas as well has spun out. And I'm telling you, it's not over for Cameron Rich. Dylan spun the tires. Leininger got caught in the middle. Nowhere to go. Thomas into the inside wall hard. Barbieri around. Indelicato's involved in this one. Campbell might just, if the caution keeps coming out, old Gerald Campbell might just win this thing.
Oh, I commented because it came.
There you go. Bang. Bang. And oof. All right. I think we got to go back to see this one from the Leininger cam, potentially going back from the Dylan Thomas cam. I think those would be the two that would tell the story the best. Here we go. We got it now. I think Dylan spun the tires, cut to the bottom. Damian saw that, jumped to the middle. Dylan then kind of righted it and jumped back in front of Damian. At that point, he was already in the hole going 3 wide, and there was kind of nowhere for anybody to go. Kind of how I view that one.
Yeah,
Mike
unfortunately,
Christopher
that's the
did
best I
jump
can do with the
second.
backup one.
No, you're good. Mike Christopher jumped up to second. Bayuk falls to third because of the spun tires. Gavel goes to fourth. Heater to fifth. Rawls is now sixth. Beers seventh. Rich eighth. Nick Massey ninth. And Mike Goodman up to 10th. Dylan Thomas out. Yep. Much exactly it. And now we've seen the two best challengers, two Cameron Rich under green flag conditions in Dylan Thomas and Scott Crump have both been wrecked in the last 2 wrecks. And just kind of like last week, a very calm, very clean race, quickly, devolving late.
Just like you said last week too, Cameron Rich dominated that. Now has to try to find a way to get back up front.
And he may just do it, right? 8th place, that is not that far back. We saw Scott Crump clear from further back in the field all the way up to 3rd. And the only reason he didn't get further up was because Cameron Rich was way out in front.
Oh, he's gonna have 16 laps to do it. Lights off on the pace car. We're gonna go green next time by.
The tough part for Cameron Rich, and it's the problem that befell him in the last race in Nashville, is that he may not have 16 laps. Because if the caution keeps coming out, he may end up with just 5 or 6 total laps in order to make up those spots, and he may just not have the time to do it. There's fewer cars in this race, though, for sure. We started with a few fewer cars, 26 total. We've already had a couple of decent-sized, very impactful wrecks to take some people out. Down to 16 cars in the lead lap, just a couple that are laps down and in the back of the field. We've got Campbell, Christopher, Bayuk, Gavel, Heater, Rawls, Beers, Rich. But with the outside lane, that's going to pull Cameron Rich past Beers and probably past Heater going into turn 1. I mean, he's going to have a really good chance still to win this thing.
Pace car down and away. Here we go.
Green
Harpoon
flag.
Designs 300. 16 laps left. Sherrod Campbell going to lead us to the green flag.
They're still spinning the tires. Goodman almost gets turned. Rich does get by Beers, and he'll go after Heater into 1. Campbell, Christopher crosses over Gavel. They're going to go around. Where'd Christopher even go? He's just slid it. He stayed in it. Gavel's going to take the lead. Cameron Rich is up to 3rd. I don't even know what happened. How did Christopher save the 82 car? Did he just X out of it? No, he's still in it. Cameron Rich from 7th to 2nd in 1 lap, and he'll challenge Gavel for the lead. This thing is not over yet. Bayuk's to 3rd. He's got a fast short run car. We saw it last week. Beers is fast on the short run. He's up to 4th. He's fighting Rawls for 4th anyway.
Gavel doing a good job right now of holding off Cameron Rich. Or either that or Rich is just waiting to make his move.
clean air for Ryan Gavel. Definitely a boon.
Oh,
from
he got
what we've
loose.
seen. Oh, yep. Rich closing in a little bit. Can't make any mistakes right now, can Ryan Gavel? With just 14 laps to go, that's a long time to hold off that 17 car. That thing has been bad fast today. Beers sideways off of 4.
Can he hold him off long enough for Bayuk to get up to the line?
Good question. I don't even know if Bayuk's really gaining. You know, he's 7/10 back. 30 flat last time. Rich was faster. Gavel was faster. Yeah, they're pulling away from Bayuk a little bit right now. Rich drives it in deep. Gavel with a more late
Here's the
apex
replay
to that
the
corner.
A2.
There we go. Got the second feedback, and look at this move. Christopher, what a save. How did Gavel get through there, man? Woo! Here we go. Cameron Rich, right behind Gavel. He's going to poke out late. Some shuffling at the back of the field. Don't think that's going to cause a caution. Gavel loose on the bottom. Here comes Rich to the top.
Crossover.
Awesome removed by Cameron Rich. Gavel fighting back on the outside lane. Don't think that's going to be enough. Rich dives it in deep. Cautions out. I think Rich had the lead. That might be it. Damian Leininger around once again. See what happened here. Oh, man. On the apron goes in Delicato. And on the apron again, and this time Leininger goes around. Rich did have the lead over Ryan Gavel, so at the time of caution, that was it. Looks like Damien got a little bit loose, but Delicato's on the apron here. I don't. And yeah, just spun him out, going back on the track. I don't know what that one was. That one was a little odd.
Gonna have about 8 to go here to settle this one. Rich is gonna be able to control the restart. It'll be interesting to see if Gavel or Bayuk has anything here.
Anybody getting tires? I would be interested. Here comes Massey, Francis, Christopher, Campbell.
You guys,
Coming
you
up
guys
pit road
wanna
to
have
grab tires.
Do you guys want to have a word with Gavel?
I don't know. He's probably trying to get ready for the second one. I hate doing the leader or something like that.
All right, no worries.
Who just wrecked? Maybe we can. I don't know if we should.
I don't see him in the. I don't see him in the Discord.
So basically, everyone from 10th on back came down pit road.
Massey, Francis will be the first two off pit road with tires. That'll be interesting. You know, I think those guys can maybe, they might have enough time if this thing actually stays green for a little bit. They might have enough time to get through traffic and make their way through. But I have a sneaking suspicion that the 1 and the 12 info is not done yet. We'll see.
But do we go green from here?
That would be the question, is do we go green from here? And even if we do, I don't think Massey's got enough time to get through the field. You know, he's not been as fast as Rich. Certainly won't have that kind of luck. I think Cameron Rich got very, very fortunate to be lined up where he was in those restarts, and then for those restarts to go the way they did, where he was able to stay in it and make up as many positions as he did. That was incredibly fortunate, but it's the type of thing that happens. You know, a luckier event like that happens to someone who's been as fast as Cameron Rich and been able to put himself in such a good position all throughout this race. Him, finally getting some luck, right? Well, that's bound to happen when you are this fast and able to get yourself in this kind of position.
Well, not only that, right? Massey has to work through the pack in this next 7 laps, but then he still has to catch Cameron Rich, who's going to get a jump on him out front here, and who knows how much of a lead he can pull on Massey as he tries to navigate through the field. So I think all things are leading towards Cameron Rich's favor here. The only one that might have a shot are those 3 guys behind him, but they still haven't had the speed that that 17 car has all day.
Right, it's going to be really tough. Gavel's going to have to get a good restart and get to the back bumper of Rich, and then put some pressure on him where he was kind of at Cameron Rich's mercy there on that last run. So it's looking really, really good for that 17 car at this point in the race. And
It's gonna be 6 to go.
What a drive also for Cameron Rich. I mean, you know, thinking back to Daytona, he was wadded up very early on. Richmond, he was involved in several incidents. Last week, he got stuck in about 8th and could never move back to the front where he had dominated the early part of the race, much like he dominated the most of the early part of this race tonight. And now he sits, you know, one good restart away from potentially getting his first win of the season.
So it's only going to be 6 laps here. Figured they would be going green, but nope, we're going to go one more lap here. Be 6 to go and go green. Rich and Gavel on the front row, Beers and Bayuk in row 2.
Joe Francis will get that top lane restart here. Benefited Cameron Rich greatly. However, Campbell was in the top lane. Rich is on the bottom. It seemed like the bottom lane was more prone to spinning their tires, though. And with the heat cycle that Rich and Gavel and some of these guys have in those tires, I don't know. Maybe there's some tire spin risk, but Cameron Rich is one of the best at getting through the gears and getting up to speed. So I'm willing to bet he gets through okay, but that's certainly a point of emphasis here for Cameron Rich, is to get off clean. Don't spin those tires. If you do, those guys right behind you might be all over you. Here we go. Rich, Gavel, Bayuk, Beers, Heater, Rawls to center.
Where is she now?
Green flag is back out. Rich goes early, and he does not spin the tires. Heater, in fact, does back in the field. Gavel is going to cut off Bayuk, but not quite. Gavel and Beers make contact, and Beers in the wall. And what can Nick Massey do? What can Joe Francis do? Gerald Campbell's around, caution's back out, and Zishan Dura gets caught up in it. Zishan had been clean all day. A couple of guys with fresh tires there spin out, and really the most important part of that restart was that Beers did clear Bayuk. Oh, and it's Mike Christopher again. Looks like has to be, right? Yep. Christopher gets the outside wall pretty good. 6 laps to go. It must be go time, you know. We've seen a lot of that this year, and maybe even in the last calendar year, really, with this league. Just driving into the corner, if someone's in front of you, well, I don't care. A lot of that. Quick, best mover on that restart wasn't Delicato, who moved to 6th. I think he gained 3 positions. Maybe 2. We'll restart it with, 4 to go? Maybe 3 to go? No one could even get close to Rich on the last one. We'll see if he has any challengers here. I hope everything's all right at the Santino household.
Yeah,
That sounded like something crashed. Yeah, jeez. Hopefully the rest of this race doesn't crash. That sounded like this race crashing and dropping after what was a very clean first about 180 laps. Heater had spun his tires. He's back to 7th now. Still a good run for that 11 car. Barbieri's up to 8th. He and Indelicato, who was right in front of him, they had words after last week's race. And that's right. It's 10:30 Central Time, 11:30 Eastern. It's getting late for some of these guys. Getting late for me.
Does that clock go over every 30 minutes?
I think every 15. We can hear the clock, Tom.
Yeah, it's not my normal house, so yeah, working remotely here, so yeah, apologize for the clock in the background, but yes, I get every half hour. I don't know, something like that. I started tuning it out at some point.
It's calling for this race going to hell here late in the event, as it has just about everyone this year.
Four laps to go here.
See if we can beg Johnny Ecker to just end this one under caution. Get it over with. It's late, man. Woo! 200 laps starting at 8:30. We could have been done though. I mean, these guys have been wadding them up. We could have been done a while back. It's seems to be the ERSCA League's intent to keep us about 30 minutes longer each race.
Hope that doesn't continue for too much longer.
I think they've been pretty reliable on that, actually. I think they've done that since we switched to the COT car. Restacking, Cameron Rich, Ryan Gavel. Austin Beers will now restart 3rd. And if there's somebody who is willing to make a move with the front bumper, it's probably that guy. Bayuk will restart 4th, Rawls 5th, Indelicato 6th. You got James Heater in 7th, Barbieri 8th, Leininger 9th, Hanshaw 10th. 11th is Massey, first on fresh tires. He was not able to show those off on the last restart. 12th is Joe Francis, 13th is Christopher, 14th Michael Goodman, 15th Gerald Campbell, 16th is Zishan Dura's battered car. I think we'll stack them up here and go green with 2 to go. Rich chooses the inside. I might not have. I might have kept that 19 car farther away from me here, but Rich is not afraid, and I can't blame him. He's been very, very good tonight. Gavel's got to wait for Rich to go. Rich has been going very, very early. Like, once the pace car drops off, I don't even think Gavel can jump that. He's got to be reactionary, and it's just a tough place to be, is outside of the race leader, where you can't see him out your windshield. He's going to find it very difficult to keep up with Cameron Rich for these 2 laps.
Getting ready to go here. 3 laps to go. It'll be 2 when we go green, so basically a green-white checkered here to finish this one out.
And basically it's going to be, does Austin Beers have that short run speed he displayed on the first run of this race? Can he get to Cameron Rich cleanly without while bypassing Gavel? That's basically the question at this point. Here we go. Pace car's off. Another early jump for Rich. Beers follows through. Does he get by Gavel? I think he will. And he does. He clears Gavel to 3rd. Beers will be the primary contender, and he passed Cameron Rich in the first run of this race.
Trying to hang with him here through 3 and 4, closing in just a little bit. He's going to get a good run out of the corner.
Austin Beers unafraid to use that bumper. He's the short track kid, so he's got a lot of knowledge here. White flag is out. Final lap, Beers to the top.
This will end it here. He's going to lose some time up top. Can he get a run out of the corner?
Nope, run out of the corner. What a turn 1 for Cameron Rich. They're sideways behind. Cameron Rich trying to set sail. Beers dives it into 3. Not going to be enough. Coming out of turn 4, Cameron Rich, a perfect race. 17 car wins it at the line. Beers gets second, Gavel third. And Delicato holds everybody off for 4th. Rawls wrecked it coming across the line. He just got loose exiting the corner too. Barbieri, Damian Leininger round out the top 10. I didn't mention Nick Massey finishes 7th with those fresh tires. What a turn for Cameron Rich, man. He pulled it into turn 1. Beers was right on his bumper. Cameron Rich had a perfect turn 1 to finish this thing off. Well-deserved win there for Cameron Rich.
Got to make sure the car's legal there.
Hope the incident points are over. They eventually they stop, right? The incident points do, and hopefully they've already stopped, because if they count, that's not the best. Right? He just picked up a bunch, but good run, good deserved win for Cameron Rich. Definitely saw this one coming from a mile away tonight. He was very, very quick.
Yeah, definitely the most dominant car here tonight. From basically the drop of the green flag to the checkered flag here, and deserved this win and ended up having to work for it, but he got it done.
All right, we'll try to get these interviews done pretty quickly here, so let's bring Ryan Gavel in. Can't do it. Ryan Gavel, David in the booth, you got me?
Oh, absolutely.
Ryan, you had the lead there for a little bit, almost had a chance at the win, but it looked like Cameron Rich got you right as the caution came out, and from there you were just kind of at the mercy of the leader. You know, take us through your night and maybe what you could have done differently.
Yeah, no, we got lucky there on strategy to get us up front, and I mean, when that caution came out on the last long run when the 33 spun, I mean, Rich was a lap from passing myself and putting himself in the lead and just making it over like that, but yeah, I got lucky on strategy a little bit in that last pit stop and everything with the way the pits didn't open and all that stuff. But that was kind of a confusing situation that worked out for me. Definitely had a probably 5th or 6th place car, and getting 3rd was good. You know, that last restart I could have raced Beers for 2nd, but I decided to let him go for the win and see if I could get something out of those two racing each other, and it almost worked out. But yeah, just happy for a good points night. You know, picked up good stage points. 3rd is better than we deserved, I think, tonight. But definitely had a decent car, and yeah, I think it all went well regardless of the result.
Yeah, one more quick thing. Take us through that one restart where you had to make a move underneath a sliding 82 car in front of you there, and what got you the lead in the first place. You know, that seemed like a pretty good move, pretty wild little restart there. Life flashed before your eyes a little bit on that one.
Yeah, it was the restart before that one actually, where me and Matthew both spun our tires really bad, and Mike Jr. was able to make an incredible move to, you know, get the jump on both of us and almost take the lead. He wound up 2nd, and Gerald took the top, and he tried to, you know, clear me and then get in front on the outside of Gerald because Gerald went to the bottom, and yeah, we talked about it after. It was just a racing deal, you know. He needed to get to the top, or else he would have had to stop behind Gerald, and that would have been it, and I would have drove away. So he had to slide up in front of me and made a little contact. I'm glad he was able to save it, and I don't know what happened to him after that, but it looks like he lost a bunch of spots. But yeah, it was just a racing deal, I think, and I think he knows that as well. Mike's a good guy. He knows the deal, and yeah, we had the lead, and I don't know if it went green the whole way there. I think maybe Cameron would have had a chance to pass me. He was underneath me and had a nose on me when that yellow came out, but I would have had the run on the top. I don't know how that would have played out, but I'm just glad that in losing the race, the best car definitely won.
For sure. And you got any shout-outs for us here before we send you off for the night?
Yeah, just got to thank the guys over at Shift Esports. Had a good run tonight, 3rd, 4th, 5th, then Seth ended up top 10, 2 and 8th, so good runs for all of them, and Seth Rawls' design on the hood. Yeah, thank everyone on the team for working together. We had some good strategies throughout the race that wound up working out really well, I think. So happy with the result. Have to see where we wind up in the points after this one. I think there were a couple guys up front runners in the points that had some bad runs, but I know Beers and Rich are probably both up there in the points, so just trying to claw away and see if we can get ourselves in this chase here. I know it's a long season ahead, and Watkins Glen next week I think should be a good race for me. I love the road courses, so haven't done any practice or laps on a road course in this car though, so we'll have to do some of that maybe before next week. But yeah, I'm excited to see how things go.
Yeah, definitely. You'll be a favorite next week for sure. But thanks, Ryan, and have a good week, buddy.
Yeah, thank you.
Ryan Gavel. Let's grab Austin Beers here, the runner-up finisher to this one. Austin, we talked to you last week as well, but one position better. Take us through those last couple of laps trying to catch that 17 car.
Yeah, I felt like I had really good drive on the restarts, and I saw Gavel was struggling a little bit with his rear tires, so I knew I'd probably make quick work of him, and, I was just trying to think of what I could do to get Cameron, because he was just so fast, and I kind of figured my only shot would be in the one on the top, before the restart, and that's what I tried. It just didn't stick, but, it's a really good points day, no incident points, so that was a good race for me.
For sure, and you drove up and passed him a couple of times, so we weren't sure if you would have anything for him there on the 2-lap run. But were you working on trying to take the lead and control the race there early in the run, or what was kind of your strategy for those longer runs?
I was kind of struggling a little bit on the long run. I just couldn't figure it out here. I didn't get much practice, but I was just trying to pit a little earlier and get some track position. It was working out pretty good. I think I gained a lot of spots and time doing that. But no, Cameron was the class of the field. I really had nothing for him except for that last restart. I think maybe if I stayed with him in 1 and 2 on the bottom and tried something in the 3, but I didn't want to wreck him because he didn't deserve to get wrecked. How much he dominated this race.
Gotcha, man. We got any shout outs for us here before we send you off tonight?
Yeah, I got Black Flag Podcast, Ryan Let's Designs, Troy Race Cars, Shark Lounge, and Legend Pro. Mike Christopher Jr., he ran really well, good recovery for him, and my buddy Ryan Barbieri, he had a good rebound, and he was being nice to everybody tonight, so that was good.
All right, man. Well, congratulations on P2. I think you're still the points leader with that run, too, and good luck the rest of the way.
Perfect,
We'll see you
thank you
next
very
week
much.
at Watkins Glen.
Oh, great. I won't be a contender there, so I'll see. Hopefully I don't suck too bad.
I feel you on the road courses, buddy, but have a good one.
Yep, you too.
It's Austin Beers. Let's grab race winner and race dominator, Cameron Rich. Cameron, man, you were in a class of your own tonight, buddy. Take us through your night, but mostly, how'd you dominate everybody so good?
Well, it was a pretty fun race. I gotta attribute a lot of that to the practice I got from running the World 600. I ran. There was a lot of guys a lot faster than me in that race, and I figured out what they did. And even though the setups weren't the same, track wasn't the same. A lot came through to the race tonight, and basically it was all about keeping it smooth, keeping the car as fast as you can without getting the tires sideways, and it's really about the car was pretty stable all night, and if you were able to keep the tires under you, it would kind of just at the end of the run, even when the tires were dead, it just wouldn't get sideways. It's pretty balanced, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And take us through your climb through the field. And at any point, did you feel like it might end up like last week, where you were trapped in the back of the field and really couldn't go anywhere and would lose another race that maybe you deserved to win at?
Yeah, honestly, I had that feeling for a third time in a row, honestly, because I feel like Richmond and Nashville both should have been races that, even if I didn't win, maybe top 3. I mean, but there with like 20 laps to go, I got a EOL for pitting. Something happened under the caution, and the pit road was open for me when I came down pit road, and then everybody else got a black flag behind me, and then I got one too. So yeah, I don't know what happened there. That definitely was not cool. I don't know. Somebody wrecked there in front of the leaders to cause that caution, and it just kind of seemed like a bit of a silly mess. But really glad I was able to get through the field. I think there was some cars up there with old tires that helped, and yeah, it would have been a shame to be as fast as I was tonight and not get the win. So I'm glad that everything worked out for once.
I guess my only final question is: did the paint scheme change? Give a few extra miles per hour for you there?
Well, I don't know, because this paint scheme is going to change for every race this season. It's kind of the whole art style. So maybe this one is good luck. Obviously, the last three haven't been good luck because I don't think I've finished higher than 10th or something. Which is I don't know, man. We gotta come out here and start winning some of these races because of the way the chase format is. I'm probably too far back in the points, just being so far back now that it's got to be about wins now. So hopefully, see what we can do.
Yeah, I think you're in good shape. But you got any shout outs for us here before we send you off?
Yeah, I want to shout out, of course, 3-Wide TV as always. I love commentating with you guys and love hearing the commentators that aren't me. That's pretty cool. I think the ones that aren't me are way better. So love hearing that. And I think Harpoon Design sponsored tonight's race, I believe. So big shout out to him. Big shout out to another design, Eisen Designs, on my car, and my team owner Drew, and my wife, my beautiful wife Caitlin. She was in the chat. So love you and thank you for being my biggest fan.
Yeah, she's always in the chat. She's always really supportive, so that's really awesome. Preliminarily, you're 4th in points. I think you're gonna be okay for the chase, buddy.
Hey, that's a lot better than it was a couple weeks ago. So let's go get them.
And Watkins Glen next week. I bet you'll be one of the ones to watch there too.
I didn't even know about that. I am so excited.
Two different reactions for the top 2 finishers tonight, with Watkins Glen being next week. But Cameron, congratulations on the win tonight, buddy. Have a good night and a good week ahead.
Thanks, guys. You too.
All right, that's it. Race number 4 in the books from Charlotte. Long one. I'm ready to go to bed.
Yeah, me too. My thoughts are pretty much the same as when the race finished, and I'm glad to see that the most dominant car and the car that deserved a win tonight ended up picking up the win.
154 out of 201 laps led for Cameron Rich. Just an absolutely dominant performance. And ironically enough, he missed out on fastest lap via a tiebreaker with Ryan Gavel. So they all ran it at the same lap. That's pretty hilarious. 29.803 for both of them. So maybe not quite the fastest car, but definitely over those long runs, man. He was incredible. With that, I think we can close it off for tonight. I am David Westergreen. With me is Dom Santina, Carlos Acosta for 3-Wide TV, Belly Up Sports, the Harpoon Designs 300. We'll see you next week from Watkins Glen.